This is Rangers Deep in the Heart, your all-access pass to life in the big leagues with personal moments and heart-to-heart chats with Rangers players, their families, and staff. This show is brought to you by Justin Boots, the official boot of the Texas Rangers. I'm your host, Hannah Wing. Welcome into Season 2, Episode 3 of Rangers Deep in the Heart, presented by Justin Boots. Now, when you think of the heart of the Rangers organization, one of the first people comes to mind is today's guest. Emily Jones-McCoy has been the Rangers field reporter for the past 2 decades and has been on TVs of Rangers fans since 2007. And away from the Rangers, she's a mom of 2 to Hattie and Henry, a wife, a host of the Mom Game podcast, and so much more. Emily has been an incredible mentor to me and my career with the Rangers since I started back in 2018. So I'm very excited for today's conversation about what her role looks like now, life off the field, and so much more. So Emily, with that being said, thanks for joining me.
Of course, happy to be here.
I know that you're usually the host of the show, so is it weird being in like the hot seat today?
It is. I'm ready for all of your hard-hitting questions. But yeah, I'm super proud of you.
Thank you.
Excited to be a guest on the podcast.
I appreciate
and super
it.
excited to get my hands on some
yeah.
Justin boots.
How many cowboy boots do you own?
So I have a pair from Justin actually that are Texas Tech
Oh,
custom
cute.
that they gifted me a while back. But it is time to, and then I have another like brown pair. So I only have 2. But
Okay.
I need to add.
Time for a third.
It's time for an upgrade.
That's going to be great. Well, it'll be
for sure.
bussin'. No pun intended from last night. We have to talk
Absolutely
about that. So you kind of Gen Z'd Bruce Bochy. He said bussin' in last night's press conference talking about Jake Latz's performance. What was the backstory for Rangers fans that might not know?
So, I mean, I think, I'm not out here a ton this season. And so when I am out here, I want to try to keep things light. I mean, things have not been going exactly according to plan for the Rangers of late. And so I just try to keep things light, whether I'm talking to the guys, whether I'm talking to Boch, whether I'm talking to you or whoever. Like, just keep it light. It's a long season, and you're going to have ebbs and flows. And so, anyway, we were sitting in the dugout before the second game against the Blue Jays, and I don't know what even popped into my mind, but I just started talking to Boch about the stuff my kids say, which are very Gen Z, I guess, terms like bussin' and skibbity and no cap and riz and so I gave Boch a little introduction. Our friend Kennedy Landry from MLB.com helped assist because I feel like sometimes I say these things and I really don't understand them. And so I told Boch it would be awesome like if we won and you threw one of these in there. And so sure enough, we win. And first question out of the chute was about Jacob Latz and Boch threw out Bussin. And the look like he was so proud of himself. And I was like, I could just retire now. Like, is there anything better than me teaching Bruce Bochy about bussin', future Hall of Famer, like just one of the most accomplished managers in the game of baseball, and he throws out bussin' in a post-game press conference, and I just thought it was amazing. And it also encapsulates the fact that you need to have fun in this game. You really do. And I've never played, obviously, but I've seen it after covering it for, more than 2 decades. Like sometimes you just need to loosen up. And not that Boch was ever tight at all, but I just feel like it's such a long season, like sprinkle in some fun here and there. And so, it made my career that Boch said bussin'.
That's hilarious, and will definitely be added to his resume, I'm sure, down the line. That's pretty incredible. How was the reaction in the press conference room last night after he said that?
We all laughed, and I had told Dave Raymond, I said, "Dude, if he does this, I'm gonna lose it." And he was like, "I think you got a shot." But I was like, "We've got to win, first of all. He's not gonna throw it out if we lose." So, we won, and the table was set, and then I thought, he's got so much other stuff on his mind. He's not gonna remember this kind of stuff. And then when he threw it out, it was hilarious. And everybody laughed, of course, because everyone in the press conference room was there pregame. And so they knew they were in on the story.
That's incredible. I did the math this morning. So with your tenure with the Rangers, you've worked with 7 different managers.
Mm-hmm.
What makes Bruce Bochy so special?
I think he's just, what, and I say this all the time, and Jonah Heim told me this in spring training of 23. He said, when Boch walks into a room, everything just gets lighter, which means he's carrying the load. He's carrying so much of what you don't have to, that it really is just such a game changer when you have that guy in your manager's office. And so I think he brings in, an instant credibility to whoever he's with. He takes that pressure off of his players. They look to him and trust that whatever he decides, whatever decision he makes, that it's the right one. And so I think that's the best way to put it, is that he makes that load lighter on everyone that surrounds him.
Rangers fans obviously watch Boch on the broadcast every single night, whether he's pulling a pitcher or just panning over to him on different camera shots. But what is he really like as a person for Rangers fans at home that don't get to see that side of him?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's sneaky funny. He's got great stories. And I had the pleasure of covering Ron Washington as well, who I love, and they're very similar in a lot of ways. Baseball lifers. I always say that Boch, both great storytellers. Uh, Boch just does it without as many f bombs. And so it's like you could talk baseball with them all day, but Boch will sprinkle in a fishing story or a grandkid story or whatever. He's super relatable as a human being. And I think that's why players love playing for him. I think that's why they play so hard for him. It's that X factor that not many managers in this game have at this point in time. And the fact that he came out of retirement to take this job, I think says a lot about this organization and where he thought and thinks it's headed.
I obviously have on a lot of players and their spouses on the show, so I want to hear more about you and Mike. So, how did you and your husband meet?
So my husband and I met at a Dallas Mavericks game, actually. I
That's
was
fitting.
working for Fox Sports Southwest at the time. He came up and introduced himself to me, and his sister and I actually went to college together. So he used his sister Kelly as kind of an in to introduce himself, and I thought he was cute. I wrote down, this is back in the days of business cards. So I wrote down my number in Sharpie on the back of a business card and told him to give it to his sister Kelly to call me so we could catch up.
Sneaky, I
He
like that.
he fell for the bait and called me either that night or the next day, or he texted me that night or the next day, and the rest is history.
And that leads me to my next question. So, you have two kids, Hattie and Henry. Can you describe each of your kids with just one word?
Hattie's easy. She's a mess, a hot, flaming hot mess. She's fun. She keeps me on my toes. Henry is, it's not one word, but he's very much an old soul. He's very mature for his age. He's my more emotional, sensitive child. And I love that relationship that we have, mother and son, and big into baseball. And that's a super fun bond for us. And so I know that's not one word, but that's
That's
kind
okay.
of an encapsulation of my children.
Counts in my book.
Thank
And then if you could pick a walk-up song for yourself, what song would it be and why?
Yeah, I mean, it would be Ice Ice Baby.
Of
I
course.
I I feel like it's kind of my go-to. I remember walking the track at Estacado Junior High School, 8th grade after lunch, and that song was so big, and I wanted more than anything to learn every word to that song. And then once I did, I would perform it at any given moment, upon any invitation. And still, 40 years later, or 35 years later, still, if there's an open mic karaoke night, that's my go-to is Ice Ice Baby.
Is there a memorable walk-up song that you just absolutely loved or hated over your, 20 years here?
So I don't know if you have heard about the Mike Napoli walk-up
No, I
song story.
haven't.
Okay, so Nap and I had a bet when the Heat, because he's a big Miami Heat
Mm.
guy, when the Heat played the Mavericks in the finals in 2011, 10, 11. I can't, don't ask me about dates. But anyway, we made a bet. I can't remember what was going to happen if I lost, but I didn't because the Mavs won. Nap lost because the Heat lost. So I got to pick out his walk-up songs. And so for one game, I picked out Nap's walk-up songs, and it was, I can't even remember the other 2, but there was 3 total, and I enlisted the help of, like, Michael Young, Ian
Of
Kinsler,
course.
of, like, what songs to pick, and then the final one, or the most memorable one at least, was, Shania Twain's "Man, I Feel Like a Woman." And so he went like 0 for 4 with 3 punch outs, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, like, if we don't win this game, this
You're like, "It's
is."
all my fault."
Oh, so anyway, we were, I think we were losing. Naps sucked that game, but we ended up coming back in the late innings and winning, and so it was kind of a fun thing that we did. But that's one of the super, super fun memories of my career. And Knapp was always down for something like that, to do something silly. And so that's definitely one that sticks out to me.
That's hilarious. Did he know what songs you picked, or did he
No,
just find up as he was
no,
walking up?
he had no idea. He had no idea.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, and now we're gonna transition into start, bench, give the boot, thanks to our friends over at Justin Boots, the official boot of the Texas Rangers. You probably already know the drill, but you're gonna start your favorite,
Okay.
bench the middle of the pack, and then give the boot to your least favorite.
Okay.
So you've been very vocal about your love for wine on
Yes.
Rangers broadcasts, on the team plane, on social media, all the things. So
Everywhere.
I'm gonna have you start, bench, and give the boot Chardonnay, Sauvignon Blanc, and Rosé.
Okay. I am starting Sauvignon Blanc. I'm
Mhm.
benching Rosé, and then I'm giving the boot to Chardonnay.
No Chardonnay?
No, I'm not a fan. But I will give you a tip. I tried this out this past weekend. The whole frozen sliced
Is
jalapenos.
it good?
It's so
Do you like
good.
spicy food?
I do like spice.
Okay,
Yes.
that makes sense.
But I just sliced up some fresh jalapenos and put them in the freezer and then dropped them in. I tried it in Rosé and Sauv Blanc, and it was amazing.
How many bottles of wine do you have at your house?
Oh, geez. I thought you were gonna say like a day, and I was like, well, hold on,
No,
Hannah.
I don't put you on the spot in that way.
I'd say probably 150,
Okay.
maybe. We have some like shelves that are like wine display that are kind of like, I don't know, whatever. But yes, a lot. I don't intend to drink all of them.
Yes. Some are
Uh,
just there for
but yeah,
to have
it's
guests over,
decoration.
special occasions,
Decoration.
vibe of the house. That's
Yes,
awesome.
exactly.
And then we're also gonna do broadcast amenities. So have you been to all 30 ballparks?
No, I think I've missed a couple. I don't think I've been to Detroit
Okay.
because John Radigan, when I was working for Fox, he's from Detroit, and so he would always get the Detroit trip
Got it.
to see family. So there's like a couple I may have missed on, but the vast majority, yes.
Okay. So we'll do start, bench, give the boot for Yankee
Okay.
Stadium, PNC Park, and Dodger Stadium.
Ooh. Oh, that's so hard. Those are three of my
I
favorites.
Googled it, so I was hoping that those were good options.
Okay.
So
So PNC Park, like the scene, like the whole setup where you're on the river and then you walk over and it's the Clemente the bridge. It's like it's amazing. So that, but Dodger Stadium is just so pure. Yankee Stadium, best food in the bigs,
so
in my
start all of them?
opinion. Yeah, I mean, it just depends on what you're going for. So I know this is not the rules, but so like
We can break the rules. It's
so
okay.
let's go for view. I'm going PNC. For food, I'm going Yankee Stadium. For um, nostalgia, I'm gonna go Dodger Stadium.
Nice.
Okay.
What have been some of your favorite off-day activities with the Rangers organization when you had that downtime?
Yeah, I mean, we've gone to the winery before when we go out and have that, Oakland, San Francisco kind of back to back. Sometimes that happens. Anytime everybody kind of gets together. I mean, and this is not really an organized team activity, but when we clinched, it's my up until we won the World Series, my favorite moment of my career was 2010 when we clinched the American League West. We were in Oakland, we clinched it there, staying in San Francisco, and literally like the entire traveling party, Brandon McCarthy, I think, was responsible for it, rented out this whole bar. Like we all went there. It was front office, it was media, it was players, coaches, staff, family, whoever was in on that road trip, went to this place. We played beer pong. We had a blast. And then we had a day game the next day. And
Oof.
so everyone was stressed. Jeff Francoeur can tell a really funny story. I don't know if he actually puked at second base when he hit a
Oh,
double, but
no.
he was close to it, if not if not all the way. But
You've had so many incredible stories over the past, almost 20 seasons now, which is so cool to think about. What keeps you so passionate about this job after having it for so long?
yeah, I mean, I think it's the relationships, and it's been that way for honestly a really long time. It's kind of something I made a concerted effort early on in my career, which wasn't exactly very well received, to be quite honest. I mean, it started when I was in Lubbock, and I was very, at that time, 25 years ago, it was very much like it's a separation of church and state, basically. Like you can't intermingle, and you got to be straight down the line, and you've got to be unbiased and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, I'm in Lubbock. I went to Texas Tech. I'm a sports fan. Of course, I want the Red Raiders to win. Like that's ridiculous if people say they don't. And so my relationship with the Rangers, I wasn't really a baseball girl, honestly, to start. In fact, I really wasn't one. I wasn't one at all. But organically over time, as I spent more time around this organization, around this game, I fell in love with it. And so for me, that's what I treasure is, and I said this before 2023 that, and I've thought about retiring a number of times at, different times in my career. And I thought, dang, we got so close in 2011. Like, and I just was like, you know what? I'm probably never going to cover a World Series team. Like, it's probably just not going to happen. And I resigned myself to that fact, and I was totally fine with it. And I was like, you know what? You know what my ring is? My ring is these relationships. My ring is Elvis Andrus and Adrian Beltre and Michael Young and Ian Kinsler and Rougned Odor and Joey Gallo and Colby Lewis and Mitch Moreland, and I mean, too many that I can name, and their families and their, all that kind of stuff. Like, that's my ring. That's what I don't need a ring. That's what brought me joy, and that's what I feel most proud of, and what I cherish the most. And so it's those relationships. And now, it's the game is different, and players are a little more guarded, and you don't necessarily get as close. And so when you do find those relationships, they're so special. I mean, like Josh Young. I mean, I, he was born the year I graduated from tech. But I love him like he's kind of like he's my son. It pisses him off sometimes, but and so those things, those are special to me. I mean, like Adolis Garcia doing his first interview in English with me last season, like that to me was like, damn, that's special. Like, that's really really cool. So those are the things that keep me coming back.
Looking for boots that work just as hard as you do? Justin Boots delivers rugged performance, timeless style, and over 145 years of Western tradition. Find your next perfect pair at justinboots.com. How do you go about fostering those relationships with players? That's something that I get asked a lot. What advice do you have for younger women or people that want to be in your shoes one day when it comes to those relationships?
Yeah, I mean, you just can't force it.
Mhm.
Like, I mean, these guys are being pulled in a million different directions. Um, they're on guard, but people looking for things from them. And so you have to be so respectful of those boundaries. You have to be patient. It doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen in one season. I mean, it happens over the course of time. And for me, it that wasn't difficult because I'm genuinely interested in people and knowing their stories, and that involves way more than what you do on a baseball field. And so getting to know those other things about them, excites me, and I love that aspect of it. But I think a lot of it is that we're in just such this instant gratification time that people are like, okay, well, I want to how do I get to be, invited to Elvis Andrus's wedding, or how do I, whatever. And it's like, no, I mean, like I've known Elvis since he was, I knew him since he was a rookie. Like, and it's a relationship that developed over the course of time. And also too, you have to realize that there are some dudes that they're not interested in becoming friends with you and developing a relationship. And it's like, that's fine too. And so you have to be respectful of those boundaries. And there are guys that I've covered that, like Cole Hamels, for example. Like, Cole was always cordial. He was great, but I could tell, like, even regardless of what questions I asked him about his personal life or his family or what, he just wasn't. That wasn't his jam. Like, he wasn't. And I was like, you know what? He's cool. I'm not gonna. It's not like I'm gonna force my way into trying to be besties with Cole Hamels or anybody else in that. I'm just using Cole as an example. Now, when I see Cole now, I see him quite a bit, honestly, because he's still here in Dallas. We talk, we're great, we catch up, how's things going? Great. But we don't have it's a different type of relationship, right, than what I have with an Ian Kinsler or, someone else like that. So I think it's just identifying, those potential relationships and making sure they're authentic, and then giving them time to foster.
That was the best advice that you've given me, was just how to build those relationships, and that's also why I built this show the way that I have. I mean, it's pretty much conversations off the fields and having their families on and about their lives and their hobbies and things like that too, so I'm very grateful for that advice because obviously it led us to Rangers Deep in the Heart.
Sure.
But I think now in this day and age too, Emily, social media is such a big part. We just talked about it before the show with your daughter Hattie and just this whole generation of being on social media and how it really is everyone's highlight reel. I think especially in the sports broadcasting world, young people are seeing on social media all of our highlight reels of the cool things that we're doing and the outfits and the behind the scenes and the access that we have and kind of the glamorous side of the job. But on the other side of things, what are some sacrifices you've had to make in the difficult parts of this position?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. It's not, and I think that's just social media in general.
Hmm.
Like you're seeing everyone's highlight reel. I pride myself in being a giant disaster on social media and taking great pride in it. But it's just everyone. I get it. Like I get what people are doing that do, put curated stuff out there and all that kind of stuff. But it's not, especially, people think, oh, you have such a cool job, but it's like, oh, can I tell you how much stuff I've missed with my kids? I mean, the schedule is by far the hardest part of this thing, the logistics of everything. And that's why I always say, like, anytime I MC a Rangers event where families are present, where the wives are there, um, that like those women, the women that are running the home for these guys, like to be able to allow them to come here, you know, or to come to work basically 9 months out of the year and have zero worry about what's going on at home because they know their wife or whoever's in charge of everything at home has everything managed is unbelievable. And those women, in my opinion, are like, to be cliche, the real MVPs. But yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot of logistics. It's a lot of, I mean, now at this age that I'm 47 and been doing this for so long now, I'm like, putting on makeup to be on TV, like, that's a sacrifice, like, having to figure out what to wear. But yeah, there's a lot of sacrifice, and then you have to deal with the social media stuff, the criticism, the knocking of the hair and the outfits and the whatever and the criticism, and, fortunately, I've developed some very, very thick skin over the years, and it takes quite a bit to offend me. But yeah, I don't think there's any profession that's just all glitz and glamour, It's just not that way.
Again, going back to the social media impact, it really has changed the game of the whole sports industry. So, from starting off in 2007 as a Rangers field reporter to now in 2025, what are the biggest differences you've seen in the position and how it's evolved?
Yeah, I mean, I think now it is, I think like before when I was talking about when I was in Lubbock, like they were like, there needs to be a clear delineation and you're a member of the media. And there are like, if you're a writer for a publication, you're not playing by the same rules that I am as a employee of the team or even a partner of the team when I was working for Fox. Um, but I think there is more now of an acceptance of, you know, showing personality and showing enabling athletes and people you cover to show their personalities, which I think is great. I mean, I think that's part of it. I mean, I've always said, that my role, I feel like the biggest responsibility I have in my role with the Rangers is to create an emotional connection between our fan base and our players and our organization as a byproduct. But it starts with the players and to create that emotional connection. If eh, I hope that now people like think Bruce Bochy's a little cooler because he said
He's
bussin'.
busting
You know what
now.
I mean? And so, I mean, little things like that you can do to create that emotional connection between a fan base and an organization. I feel like now that falls a lot on this role, and it's one that I take a lot of pride in. It's one I take very seriously, and I don't always hit on it, but it's something that I always strive to do. And then two, now it's become so much of, and for better or for worse, and I'm worse because I'm terrible at it, is the self promotion, and everyone's trying to build their brand. And, for me, I'm like, get after it. And I feel like, especially with the younger demographic, that's what's happening with a lot of women in my role. I'm just too old to figure it out. And so I'm just like, I'm just going to throw some stuff out there. And then if it sticks, it sticks. But I feel like now, you know, especially women in my role and men as well are taking full advantage of the opportunities and the exposure that they have, and they're using it to further their own brand. And again, I'm not good at it, but I'm like, more power to you, you know?
What was it like being a field reporter before social media existed?
It was amazing.
You're like, I loved every
It was
second of
so
it.
awesome. Yeah, I mean, yeah, because you just did, I mean, and I guess there's always been social media, though. It's just so different. Like, when I was in Lubbock, I was getting trashed on message boards, and so it's just like message boards amplified, and they have, like, a direct line to you. It's social media. Like, it's insane. But it's like it comes with good and bad, right? Like there's positives of social media. Like you can get your message out directly. You can take control and ownership of your brand, of yourself, of your name, image, and likeness to borrow from college sports. But yeah, there are definitely downfalls to it and negatives to it. And that's why I mean it's why I won't let my daughter on social media. I mean, she's about to be in 6th grade and I'm like, I don't know when the right time is for her. Just because I feel like it's so much I mean, listen, it's bad for men too, I'm not saying that, and for boys, but it's just different with girls. And so that's something as a parent that I'm still trying to figure out. But yeah, it's an ever-changing, landscape for sure.
Well, the Rangers Sports Network launched this season, and you're still a visible person on it. Thank goodness Rangers fans are so happy to have you a part of it, but your games have scaled back this season. How has that transition affected you personally and professionally?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely different. So I at my max, I was doing like 115 games, and so plus spring training, not the whole time, but I was probably there for like 2 weeks. So it was
Mhm.
an exhaustive schedule. And at that time, I had a 2-year-old and a newborn, and so it was, I mean, it was a lot. And so I did that really high level for a while, and then we've slowly over the years, over the last 12 years, have just kind of started scaling back, which I was completely great with and worked for me where I was in my personal life and all that. But I went from 65 this past season to 20 this season, which it's been like, whoa. I didn't even work a game until like late April. So it was different. I understand the organization's, thinking behind this. Like, they want, and Laura's here and she's doing fantastic. They want someone who can commit to the bulk of the schedule, 130
It's a
games.
lot.
That ain't me. I'm still thrilled to be a part of this and still be in the mix. But yeah, it is different. And I think what's hardest for me is like just like the questions like, well, how many wait, what I thought you were gone. Are you gone? Are you coming back? Where have you been? When are you gonna do this again? How many games? Like all that kind of stuff. And I remember when we came to terms on this, the Rangers and I remember Angie being like, "Do you want us to send out a press release?" And I was like, "That seems ridiculous." But then I'm like, maybe I should have had them do that so I could just have like a form letter I
So
could
they
just
stop asking you?
post somewhere. You're right. So yeah, and listen, it's so nice. I mean, people are so kind, for the most part. And so it's if someone asks me like, where have you been, or when are you coming back, or what's your deal, I'm happy to answer it. But it's just like because I know, and I've known that this was the way it's going to be for a long time, and so for me, it's like, oh yeah, this is just what the deal is, and so yeah, so probably just answering the questions. But I will say for my kids love having me around more, and honestly, like, sometimes I think, like, "How did I even do 65 last season?" Like, I'm on game 7, and I'm exhausted, and, I'm out of clothes to wear, so,
The
anyway.
clothes part is difficult. That's the
It
tricky part of
is,
the
it
job.
is,
People don't understand that. It's
it is.
very
Uh-huh,
underestimated.
uh-huh.
But how do you juggle everything, especially as a mom of 2 young kids?
I think you have to be super organized. Like I'm super OCD, so I'm super organized, so that helps. And then you have to be willing to ask for help, which sucks for people like me who want to be in control of everything. But you kind of have to give up at some point and be like, I need help," and let people help. You also, I feel like it's been great for my kids because I feel like they've been exposed to a lot of things and situations that they might not have been otherwise. They also haven't had mom at every single thing. They've had to learn how to, navigate things when I'm not around. I think it's made my husband more involved as a father. And so I view all the vast majority of it as positive, but I mean, it's a juggling act and I mean, it's an absolute S show at times, but you just kind of have to figure it out.
And now that you've kind of scaled back in this new role, what are some things that you're really happy that you get to be a part of now that you do have more time?
Yeah, I mean, I think just like little things. I mean, I can't tell you how many tournaments I missed of Henry's, and games of Hattie's that I had to miss because, I was working and all that kind of stuff. And so now I don't think, I mean, I may have missed one of Henry's tournaments so far this year and maybe one of Hattie's games. And, so it's like getting to be present for all those things and not having to rely on my mom friends to send me pictures and all that kind of stuff. Being at all the award ceremonies and different things like that. Just being able to be present has been really cool.
When it comes to your game preparation, people love hearing about all the behind the scenes of really what goes into a broadcast. So, what does your game prep look like as far as pulling stats, meeting with production, things like that?
So the producer will generally have a good idea of what he wants me to do, which is great. And for me, and there are different, theories on this, and different people in my role have, approach it differently. For me, I feel like Dave's got the play by play handled. Bassick or Murph, whoever that is, have the analytics and the stats and the analysis of the game. And so I'm trying to provide the human element, the other things that you necessarily can't find on a stat sheet or looking it up, you know, on baseball reference or something like that. So that's what I'm trying to get is I'm trying to get those little nuggets, as I call them, or tidbits that I can pass along to our viewers, but also to spur conversation in the booth. Like I want to give Dave and either Mike or Murph, something to talk about. I want to give them conversation pieces. And so that's kind of what I try to do is try to gather up those little things, those little nuggets that I can sprinkle in that are of interest.
How does your prep differ for a Rangers game versus a mom game episode?
Well, there's zero preparation for mom
You
games.
just kind of show up and see what
There's
happens.
no, I mean, I have to get our sponsors in. So I'm the organizational one in that relationship between Julie Dobbs and I. So I make sure we're getting all of our sponsor reads in. But I think that's what's so great. What I've loved about the mom game, with the Rangers broadcast, it's like I come to you in 30 to 90-second spurts, right? And so there's not, the Dave and the analyst Bassick or Murph, they're doing the bulk of the talking. And so with Mom Game, I can talk about whatever I want, however long I want, using whatever language I want, sipping whatever wine I want.
There you
And so
go.
it's a totally different format where I can just showcase more of my personality. I try to interject as much of my personality as I can that's appropriate in the setting of a major league broadcast. But it's definitely a different feel. But Mom Game is very much free form, very much.
You know what the next question is? How many bottles of wine do you have at the mom game set?
So we usually try to keep at least a half a case, but that's because the studio's small. So we're replenishing. We're replenishing all the time.
Incredible.
There's never a shortage.
Never a shortage of
Never
wine
a
on the mom
shortage.
game.
Yeah.
How did the mom game come to be?
So Julie Dobbs, who used to work for Fox Sports Southwest and the Dallas Stars, approached me right before the pandemic hit in 2020 and said, I have this idea to do a podcast. And I was like, I have 800 things on my plate. I cannot add another. But if you know Julie Dobbs, she is legitimately one of the kindest humans you will ever meet. And she convinced me because she's so nice to do this. And I told her, I said, I'll do this because you're so nice and I want to I there are very few people I would do this for and you are one of them. And then I said, I'm giving it 6 months and if we're not making money, then I'm out.
It's fair.
Just to be really
Very
honest.
fair.
And so that 5 years, 5 years later, here we are, and it's been fun. It really is like a just a fun creative outlet for I think both of us. So yeah, we always say it's not just moms, it's not just sports. We talk about a little bit of everything. We talk about sports, we talk about parenting, we talk about embarrassing stuff, we talk about funny stuff, we cry, we laugh. So it's just a lot of fun.
What have been some of your favorite memories or episodes from the mom game so far?
Well, I mean, when we first started, we put it out into the universe that we wanted Dirk as our guest, and I'd covered the Mavericks for a few seasons or a number of seasons actually, and so I got to know Dirk a little bit. But Dirk was one of those guys that like always super kind and friendly and cordial, but pretty guarded. And so, that like I was like, we've got to get Dirk on, and we put it out there like episode 1, and I can't even remember how long it was like 3 years it took to get him.
Wow.
And I mean, I would message him on Twitter and
Big Twitter guy.
a big Twitter guy. So I would DM him on Twitter and then he would get back and he was like, okay, Emily, we can do this. And then it was just back and forth, back and forth. And so when we finally had Dirk in studio, it was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And so Dirk being in studio was fantastic. Adrian was one of our first guests during the pandemic. Adrian Beltre was. And then we had Troy Aikman on, and he had just had eye surgery, so he couldn't come in studio, but so he was remote. But it was such a great conversation with him because he's a father of two girls. I was, me and my sister were raised by my dad, and so Troy and I had like a very heartfelt conversation, and I don't think he cried, but I did. The interesting people that we've been able to have on, and to be able to talk to him about stuff, not just about their careers and not just about sports, and to be able to talk to him about the human side of them, and kind of what you're doing here, like to be able to give people another view of these guys that you see doing all this really, really cool stuff in the public eye.
Absolutely. So aside from Dirk, who would your next dream guest
George
be?
W. Bush.
I feel like that's doable for you.
I know, and, like, the thing is, like, I love George W. Bush so much, like, and I feel like we have this, like, really great friendship because I've gotten to know him over the years. Um, I mean, it's been so many years, and I love talking to him at the ballpark, but, like, it's not like I have his digits or anything, and I think I probably could go through some channels. I could probably ask John Blake. I could probably I probably need to try to massage
You
that.
should.
But I mean, if George W. Bush came on the mom game, like, I would just probably John Elway and retire and be like, "I'm out."
What would you
Uh,
want to ask him about?
I don't know, like, we would not talk anything about being president. We
Of
would just
course
be
not.
talking about, like,
Everything else.
oh, like, all the things. I don't even know, I mean, like, also, raising kids in the position that he was in, his painting, j like, his crazy ass antics, like photo bombing me, like, which went viral. I mean, like, just his personality is just so fun. So I would, yeah, he has, skyrocketed up to number 1 on the mom game
That's a really
wish
good one.
list.
We're gonna manifest that today.
Okay,
That has to
put it out
happen.
there.
I would love that for you
Surely
guys.
W listens to this
Of
podcast.
course, big
Let's
Rangers
go.
guy used to own the team,
Let's go,
so you never
W.
know. He's loving podcasts around here these
I
days, so
know,
you
I
never
know.
know. You really established very meaningful relationships with other people in your similar role for other teams. Why is that so important?
Oh, it's huge because I think that it's like it's like a little, sorority. I mean, it's like I mean, I can talk to my girlfriends about about this job or about troubles that I'm facing or challenges, and they're going to listen and they're going to give me advice and all that, but they're not going to understand. And so I feel like it's that way. It should be that way for in any profession, in any group, where you find people who can understand and sympathize what you're going through. Not only are they there for support, but sometimes, like, I'll reach out to them and they'll be like, "Yeah, you're kind of off base on this one, like, rethink it like this." And I'm like, "Okay." And it's important to surround yourself with people who are going to be honest with you, right? Who aren't just gonna sunshine pump you, who aren't just gonna tell you everything you wanna hear and be like, "You're absolutely right. Everything you say is amazing, and you're so great, and you know everything." You need to surround yourself with people who are gonna challenge you and who are gonna make you see things differently, and are also gonna be there to support you. But I feel like it's that way, not just in this profession, but in life in general. Like, I feel like my friends will be the first to call me out on anything that they disagree with me on, and we'll talk about it, and we'll challenge each other. And I feel like that's hugely important. Like I said, in every aspect of life, personally, professionally, um, you need to get people in your circle that are going to cause you to step outside of your one way of thinking.
Built for the bold, the Frontier collection from Justin blends classic Western style with modern edge. With sleek looks and premium leathers, these boots are ready for anything. Find your Frontier today at justinboots.com. All right, let's dive into some fan mail.
Okay.
I'm so excited for these because we had tons of questions come in for you. So I picked
Okay.
kind of like my 5 or 6 favorite ones.
Okay.
So if you can go back and give yourself advice when you first started the Rangers job in 2007, what would it be?
It would probably be, don't worry so much. Like, I was talking about this today. I came back with both kids from maternity leave after 3 weeks,
Wow.
after each kid. Um, because I was so worried about missing something. I was so invested in the team. Um, and I don't I just wish I would have taken more time. Like, and so I wish I could tell my younger self to, like, just chill out. Everything's gonna be fine. And missing, or, being on maternity leave another 2, 3 weeks is not going to change the trajectory of your career. Or asking for this day off, or, different things like that. But I think that's also part of, when you're so driven and you're so motivated at that point in your life. Like I just was trying so hard to build my career and all that kind of stuff, to where you do things like that. And I wouldn't have listened to my, younger self. I wouldn't have listened. But it's something now I think about, like, why was I so stressed out about another 2 or 3 weeks of maternity leave? Like, that's so dumb.
I get that too. It's like I have to miss some games this season for weddings that I'm in.
Yeah.
And I even felt bad asking about that. And Krista Reicher and Ballpark Entertainment was like, it's
Yeah.
fine. Do what you gotta
Life.
do. Like,
Yeah.
it's a long season, and
Yeah.
but it's that weird guilty feeling of
Yeah.
like you always are here and you're used to it
Yeah.
and the fans are used to seeing you. So it's
Sure.
important to
Yeah.
be that constant presence. So it's kind
Right.
of weird asking for it off and not being here
Yeah.
sometimes, but you have to.
Yes, absolutely.
Which current Rangers player is most likely to become a major league manager one day, and
Ooh,
why?
Marcus. Marcus, right? I mean, yes, Marcus Simeon for sure. Just because he's so he's super accountable, he's super available. I feel like he's very calm in his demeanor, very deliberate, very thorough, so consistent. Yeah, I think he would be a great manager. I always think, like, also too, like, catchers. I feel like catchers make really great managers. And I would say Jonah, but I think Jonah has zero desire to ever be a manager. But I could see Marcus being a manager.
I love that. Who is your favorite Ranger of all time to interview? I'm
That's
sure there's
not
been hundreds and
okay.
hundreds, but if there are a
Not
few,
okay. I mean, Adrian and Elvis always, and they just always kept things so entertaining. I mean, and Elvis was so easy because he would talk whenever. But like Adrian, it was like I had to barter with him. Like I would be like, "Can I talk to you?" And then I'll leave you alone for 2 weeks. And then he would, he'd give me the business and razz me about everything. And then he would be great. And he was just so entertaining. So it kind of a different, feel for that. But you know who else was really fun? Mitch Moreland was so funny because he's so dry and he's so country, and he would just make me laugh, all the time. So there was a lot of them, but those are 3 that come to mind. And then if I wanted to be humbled and put in my place, it was Ian Kinsler.
that actually leads me to the next question. So,
Okay.
what is your favorite moment between Elvis and Beltray?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, the throwing of the glove was really good. Um, when I think it was Elvis and Rugi, when AB was doing the interview with me post game, and they tried to get him, and he ran away from the interview, and then he went and got like a rake or a broom from one of the
I've seen that clip.
groundskeepers. That was, yeah. And then like we tried to like get him back, and then finally I was like, yeah, he's done, y'all. Like, back up to you. We're done down here on the field. So that's probably up there.
That's awesome. You alluded to this earlier, but what is an on-air mistake that still haunts you?
Well, I mean, now that I'm the Rangers reporter calling Pudge Ivan, it's probably up
Aside
there.
from that one.
I'm trying to think. I don't. There's been so,
And
there's been so many.
that's why we love you.
Well, yeah, okay. So shout out to Chilosos, because last night I haven't done a whole lot of wins, and I was supposed to give the Chilosos gift card, and I called it Chilenos. So let's just do the most
Chileno Bay and
recent.
Cabo.
I
We love it.
know.
We love Chileno
So it's
Bay.
so funny. So Jared texts me and he's like, "Ha ha ha, Chilenos," and I was like, what's so funny? What? I don't get it." And he's like, "It's Chilosos," and I was like, "Dang it!"
The players probably like, yes, I got our
So
free trip to
so
Cabo.
I'm
Let's
going
go.
to
I
Cabo
love
to
doing
Chilena.
interviews.
So anyway, shout Chilosos, love you. I need to come in and have some Mexican food, but
That's awesome.
yeah.
And then finally, the female Rangers fans want to know, where do you shop? It's a lot of games to dress
Oh,
for. So
yes.
where do you get your clothes?
So I will say a lot of online shopping because I hate trying on clothes. So there's a store or a website called Vici, which is VICI, and it's skewed a lot toward younger people, I feel like, but I feel like it's also for us hip middle-aged women. I
It's
feel like I'm
bussin'.
so hip.
Beachy's
Yes.
bussin'.
So for the ladies, older ladies with Riz. So Vici is kind of my go-to. I follow them on Instagram, and then I'll screenshot stuff that I like, and then I'll just order like once a month. But yeah, that's about it.
They have a Dallas pop-up now.
They do.
It's in West Village. I'm going tomorrow.
We just had one.
Oh,
The
nice.
mom game just hosted
How
one.
was it?
It was great. It
Okay.
was so fun. Yeah, I got a bunch of cute outfits.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Emily, this was so fun.
Of
Thank you again for
course.
joining me. Where can Rangers fans find you on social media and also listen to the mom game?
Okay, well, I got off of Twitter a few years ago.
I don't blame you.
I'm still on there, but I don't really
Not
check.
active.
I don't know. I'm not active at all. Instagram at Emily Jones 1977, which will tell you exactly how old I am. You can find the mom game anywhere you listen to podcasts. Spotify, iTunes, Apple stuff, whatever. And it's just the Mom Game podcast. We release our shows drop every Thursday. I'm happy for you and I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
And thank you for having me. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you, Emily. I
I know,
appreciate all
you've
that
come a
you've
long
done.
way,
I know, it's
Sea
crazy,
Girl.
huh?
You
Looking
have.
back from the beginning, doing little cringy Texas Live videos to now. I'm like, wow.
No, but I'm so proud because you're so much more comfortable and you're so
Thank
much more
you.
conversational. And that's one of the things that we talked about
We
early
did.
on is because you were trying so hard to be perfect.
Yep.
Not that this matters to anybody. We could have this conversation offline, but I felt like you were putting too much pressure on yourself trying to be perfect and
Yeah.
everything. And now you're talking and you're relying
you.
on your skills, and I'm super proud.
Thank you. I can credit everything to you. So I
Not
appreciate
everything.
all
Not
that
even
you've done.
I hope I've provided you with some good advice over the years. but
Well,
I'm
thank
super
you for
proud
all
of
the
you.
wonderful advice. Thank you for joining me today. And Rangers fans, thanks for tuning in. Make sure you check out the mom game. Follow Emily on social media. Make sure to subscribe, like, and share this episode with a friend. We'll see you next time.